Walter Flanagan. Say hello to the kids, Walt.
Hello.
So if you don't know Walter's backstory, then obviously you haven't been paying any close attention, but go back and listen to the first Walt episode of Fatman on Batman for all his credibility and backstory and how much Batman has meant in his life and the fact that he worked on Batman and drew Cacophony and Widening Gyre and stuff like that. We handled in the last podcast. But what we're going to do this week is cover the latest and greatest. We're going to talk to Walt about The Dark Knight Rises, and then we're going to talk about some of our favorite Batman stories of all time. I asked Walt to pick his 10 favorite Batman stories. So without further ado, let's get into it. You saw Dark Knight?
Yes.
Now, when I talked to you, and I don't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but I remember having a conversation with you last time where you were like, I don't know, some of the things they have him doing in that trailer seem awfully big, you know.
Yeah.
On the level of, this is a guy who's, you know, usually stopping the Joker or beating up muggers and chain snatchers, and the trailer to Walt made it look like Batman dealing with Armageddon.
Yeah, like, you know, like the stadium disintegrating. It just looked like too huge a threat level for a powerless based superhero.
It would be at that point where Batman would be like, we should probably get Clark Kent on this.
Exactly.
Now, you've seen it.
Yes.
Did you go opening day?
No.
Were you affected at all by the Aurora, Colorado happenings?
Affected.
Like, did it keep you away from?
Oh no, it didn't keep me away. I actually donated a page of Gyre artwork to a cause.
I saw that online.
Oh, you saw it?
I did. Somebody online was just like, your buddy donated a page. I thought that was rather sweet.
Yeah. Some guy contacted me who was going to run an auction for the victims of the shooting. You know, said that he really dug the Gyre art, and I was honored to send a page in and help out in any way I could. But as far as the shooting keeping me away from the theater,
it didn't give you pause. You weren't
No.
like, oh man. Now, who did you go with? Who were you planning to go with? Is this a wife date?
Yes.
Kind of thing? Is it?
It was a matinee. Yeah.
And she had enough interest, or is it like there's a mandatory one comic book movie per year that she has to attend with you?
She actually liked Dark Knight.
I think it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who didn't like Dark Knight. That's a movie that transcends fandom and the genre to just become an almost instant film classic. No matter who you talk to, whether they're fans of Batman or not, they're all like, that movie's pretty amazing.
Yeah, she was. I mean, it impressed her. Like that movie. It was actually it never ever came across as silly, where some superhero movies can get silly to a person who doesn't read comic books.
Right.
Can just roll your eyes and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, let me get this straight. Loki's got a pokey stick, makes people bad. You're like, yeah, but it's one of the Infinity Gauntlet gems, so it makes the mind gem, so it's cool. Some of those are tough to explain, but Dark Knight, Chris Nolan plays it so straight and real,
right,
that you can take a wife to it and be like, look, it's not all silly, know.
Right. And this movie, I mean, now she obviously, it's hard to not have in the back of your head, going to see that movie without the shooting,
Of course.
like rumbling around, like bouncing around your head. So her feeling was coming out of the movie was like, she was shocked at how bleak and how, she kept saying how violent it was. And I told her, I go, there wasn't a drop of blood in that movie.
That's right. The more you think about it, it's true.
But the implied violence is crazy when it's like over the top hopelessness and bleakness is the recipe for that movie. And it was
it's a desperate film, and not desperate in as much as like it's desperately trying to please us. It's desperate in as much as it's literally filled with despair.
Yeah.
There's not a single character who's like, I'm happy with what I got and what I'm getting. Even Bane, who's set up as, the spoilers, the main villain, by the time you get to the end of the movie, even Bane is like, I'm sad Bane, emo
Right.
Bane. Like, he's crying. He doesn't get what he wants. Nobody gets what they want in this Gotham. So she felt it was too relentlessly dark?
Yeah, she kind of was she was fatigued by the sheer amount of like, oh, it's hopeless, it's despair, it's like,
Why
okay.
won't these people get off of this island?
Like, I just felt like it kind of was like, it was too much. And she goes, how could a child see this movie and enjoy it? And I was just like, they don't.
Yeah. You just want to be like, well, just like the comic book store, love. Children don't go to comic book movies. That wasn't the case with Avengers. That was such a kid-friendly movie.
Yeah.
Even if you had violence, and even if the Hulk was rampaging, they turn him into a hero. He catches Iron Man. Like, it's so colorful, and they all come together as a team. And The Dark Knight Rises is very much about isolation. All of the Batman movies have been about, like, I'm alone and only I can do this. The world is crazy and I have to be crazier.
Right.
But in the other Batman movies by, like, Tim Burton, there's always, like, a little bit of sense of humor to it. Even in The Dark Knight, you had Heath Ledger to kind of,
Right.
make you laugh.
I can remember only one joke, and maybe I'm missing one, but I can only remember, like, your wife took the car. My wife?
That's it.
And really, that was really the only moment where I heard anybody, I didn't chuckle, it didn't make me laugh, but I heard other people kind of like snicker at that.
There's one other that I can remember offhand, and it was a moment that really bugged me as a Bat fan. But he's on the roof with Catwoman, and, he looks, there's a light in the sky, and he turns to look at her, and as he's turning back to her, he's like, Miss Kyle, and she's not there.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, right?
Yes, he goes, so that's what that feels like. What bugged me was that he said it in that stupid voice. Nobody was there. Like, you put on the voice to fool people, but she was gone. Nobody else was there to be fooled. And still, even when he talks to himself in that voice. A lot of people on Twitter are like, yeah, man, because when Bruce is Batman, he just absorbs it. He just immerses himself. He is Batman. So he changes his voice. Some people defend it saying he's got voice changing technology in the cowl. All manner of things to try to excuse this fucking voice. Nobody ever just going like, Chris Bale made a weird choice. And, the movies are so good, we kind of let it go, but it's a weird choice.
And I'm not saying that I want jokes. I don't. I actually love that tone. And I don't want jokes, and I want dark, bleak Batman. But as for somebody who wasn't a comic book fan and who appreciated how good a film the second one was, my wife felt it was maybe overboard in its despair level.
It's funny when we talk about bringing kids to it, because even the movie doesn't even lend itself to toys.
Which there are, but yeah, they don't lend itself. No.
I think that's why they, the last few years over at Warner Brothers Animation, their Batman take, for a while they had Batman the animated series, Batman Superman, the Bruce Timm universe. Then they started again with The Batman and did that for a few years. Then they did this other reboot called Batman the Brave and the Bold. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of more lighthearted, not like joking around. They just play, Diedrich Bader does Batman as a relentless crusader of justice, to the point where he's almost sounds like a dark, brooding Boy Scout. But it's done well, honors the character, even though it looks like the Bob Kane Batman, the all smiles Batman. It really honors the character. The only grumble I would have is like the Joker, rather than like cast somebody that goes over the top, they cast somebody that was a little closer to the old Filmation Joker, who was like, well, Batman. Wow. That's what they went. And that dude had to follow like Mark Hamill and any number of people, like with the Heath Ledger movie performance. So to go with a lower key Joker, I felt was kind of like maybe that was the weakest aspect of the show, but it wasn't even that. That being said, it wasn't that weak. All of this is a way of saying, though, they put him in the show with other DC characters. They were able to do toys, very kid-friendly toys, because Batman was drawn in a very kid-friendly, cartoony way. I think they put that into motion during the Chris Nolan movies, because they're like, we got to get a fucking toy out of this, man. Like, we can't sell people the Scarecrow figure. Like, I think they were like, it's good to have a Batman out there that's a little more kid-friendly, because isn't that who this shit's for at the end of the day, kids? But it's not really for kids anymore.
No.
He is far too dark and brooding.
The psychological aspects of the movie are so heavy and shoved down your throat at every turn. Yeah, there's no way a kid's into this. I mean, how much screen time as Batman did he have?
He wasn't in the first half hour, 35 minutes. So any kid who's like 6 years old wearing a bat mask, like on the edge of their seat, like, this is going to be amazing, are literally wading through like, all right, there's Bane, and he's doing some stuff on a plane. Where's Batman? Batman's going to show up. Batman doesn't show up. 35 minutes later, Batman comes into the picture. I think kids are asleep by that point.
Yeah,
They're like, Mom, Dad, all this sadness is making me tired. Why is he so unhappy, this guy?
Do you think when obviously at some point they will reboot the franchise?
They said it after The Dark Knight, while they were making Dark Knight Rises, like maybe even before they went into production. Warner Brothers let it be known that when Chris Nolan's done with his, we're going to wait 4 years and reboot again.
Okay. Does the shooting and the magnificent mood and tone that this guy was able to bring to all three movies, do they try and then to go a bit different?
Absolutely.
I
think
so
what
too.
they do, I'm not going to say they look at fucking Marvel and just steal their plays, but they're like, okay, the Avengers is very lighthearted. You can never make a box office comparison between the two. At the beginning of the summer, everyone was like, which is going to be the bigger movie, Avengers or Dark Knight Rises? And going into it, of course, I would have said, oh, Dark Knight Rises. Then when the Avengers opened, I was like, I don't think there's any way for the Dark Knight Rises to beat it at the box office, because in the Avengers, you're like, look at all these heroes together for the first time. And then Dark Knight Rises, all you were really offering people in the way of new was, well, we got Bane and Catwoman. You haven't seen them yet, but you've seen Batman a number of times.
Right.
Then add to that what happened in Colorado, man. And it's just like, they're saying that it may not do as much business as The Dark Knight did. That being said, like, let me assure you, everyone's making hundreds of millions of dollars. But I think the next iteration of Batman is going to be a lot more Marvel-like, a lot more user-friendly.
He'll crack a one-liner or two.
Yes. We won't go back to the Bat credit card and the Bat butt and nipples, but he will make a better, and he'll make more frequent jokes than like, so that's what that feels like.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
Or they'll also go the route of team, where they're like, we got to build our universe. We're way behind now. Like these Marvel cats literally film by film built their team movie and then put the team movie out, and now they can do anything. Did you hear they're doing like the space one they're doing, the Guardians of the Galaxy?
No.
That's
really?
Marvel's next big feature.
I thought it was Ant-Man.
No, the Ant-Man's still 2 years away. They showed Edgar Wright did some a test on the suit, and he showed it at Comic-Con this year. But then one of the next movie they announced at Comic-Con was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
I'm kind of like...
Who's the big character in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Charlie 27?
He's going to have his own movie. Can you imagine?
I just said that as a joke. I don't even know I don't even know if he's still a viable character.
I guess, look, you got to look at the Marvel situation like this. They don't have Spider-Man.
Right. They don't have FF.
They don't have Fantastic Four. They don't have X-Men. They don't have Daredevil. They don't have Punisher. So, they just had huge success with the Avengers. And they're making Iron Man 3 right now. They announced the Thor title and the Captain America title.
Ant-Man, right?
And Ant-Man's 2 years away. You're very excited about Ant-Man, but that is part of the Marvel unit, but it's still a little bit far away. But then, then they'll have to get into characters that maybe aren't the first top tier. And I think that's how you get to a Guardians of the Galaxy. Somebody there has a plan where they're like, maybe that's how they introduce Thanos or something before you get to the Avengers sequel, which clearly looks to be Thanos.
I mean, who's to doubt them, right? I mean, every move they made has been gold.
It's been smart. They got somebody in there, or a bunch of somebodies. I think Favreau had a lot to do with it too, because he was there for the building of Iron Man. So he was there for the birth of the Marvel universe, and played a kind of integral role in planning the next few flicks, because everything's predicated on Iron Man at this point. That first movie, they built all their franchises out from that. So much so that, like, I was on the plane watching the trailer, for the Avengers, because they were showing it on the plane, and it was on this DirecTV channel, so it was looped over and over and over again. And as you're sitting there watching the trailer over and over again, you're overwhelmed by the sense of just like, wow, this seems like a fun movie. Whereas The Dark Knight Rises, you never watch that trailer and go, that looks like it's going to be fun. You go, that looks amazing.
Right.
Or, oh, that looks badass. But you don't feel like you're in for a good time. So I think Warner Brothers is going to be like, let's make it close to this. From what I understand, the draft of the Justice League movie, not the one that they're currently working on, but the last version of it, the last iteration, was very close in tone to the reboot of Star Trek. So I think they'll probably head in that direction, where it won't be, all laughs by any stretch of the imagination, but like Star Trek had room for humor, and as we see, the Marvel movies have room for humor. the Avengers pretty much played like Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Like as I watched that trailer over and over again, I was like, this is literally just the latest, greatest Iron Man movie. But it wasn't. It was like the massive team picture. I wonder what the next Iron Man movie is going to do, like the real Iron Man 3. Now that like you follow the Avengers and you know they're probably going to open with like a little cooperation between heroes right at the top and then go into their storyline without the Avengers. But they're doing with their universe, they're doing what a comic book fan has dreamed about somebody doing for years. Like they're treating it serious. They're interconnected. Some characters will show up here. And I think Warner Brothers and DC probably have to take a page from that book and be like, we love the Nolan stuff, man. It's amazing. And it made us a lot of money and he's a genius and he'll always have a home here. But let's inject just a little bit more fun into Batman. But how's that going to affect you? Like, I'm like you. I love the well, I don't even know if that's the case. I love the Nolan movies, even though, like, to me, my movie Batman will always be the 1989 one because that was the first one, and it was also in the age when I was starting to collect again, and also the tone of it was so close to what the Batman should be. But these three flicks, like what he's done with them, nothing short of amazing. He somehow convinced Warner Brothers to make the bleakest fucking Batman films on the planet. And you're right. There's no blood, but there's a shit ton of violence. Even in The Dark Knight, the one with Heath Ledger, he's a knife man. So he's constantly stabbing and cutting throats. And just because you never see the blood, it doesn't make it any less horrifying. You're like, did that just happen in a Batman movie?
Well, how about, to me, one of the most like breathtaking scenes in Dark Knight and just like was like, I don't want to say shocking, not shocking, but like, was just like that feeling of like your breath taken away is when that quick second flash of like they showed the bodies being hung on the bridge.
Oh, in The Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was just like, this is too close to like real like atrocities that are committed, across the world.
You can go to the internet and probably see videos close to this. I think they were playing it very real. They were playing, this is what happens when terrorism comes in. That was a badass shot though, wasn't it cool? And especially with the score. They had the score going under it and he's looking at the TV and you just see those bodies hung from the bridge. I saw an excellent piece online. I want to say the site was like, I don't think it's Batman on Film, but it's one of those Batman movie specific sites. And they did an entire breakdown of The Dark Knight Rises and all the moments that are paralleled in the comics. Like, I'm not saying he got it from this, and they showed so much, including they showed that image of the bodies hung from the bridge, and they were like, this could have been taken from the cult. And they showed the image of bodies being hung by the Gotham Bridge to warn people.
I thought more real world. Like I thought like, something in Iraq or something, from a couple years ago. I remember a horrible story.
About a journalist being like kidnapped and beheaded?
No, it was more like bodies just, being, some,
like in Black Hawk Down. Hawk Down, they took the body, like in that real life story, they mutilated the bodies or did horrible things.
Did you like it?
Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
I did. Absolutely, I did. I did 3 hours of podcasting on it with Mosier where he hadn't seen it, and I literally retold him the entire movie. I saw it 3 times opening weekend.
Wow.
First time on my feet, never tired. So I was like, that's a good sign. Like I didn't sit down. I was standing the whole time because I didn't have tickets. They let us go watch in the projection room. Then I went and stood in the back of the theater instead. Second time I had a seat and sat through it and I was never bored. And then I saw it again on the Saturday. So I saw it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I by the third viewing, I was just like, okay, I can wait for a little bit now. But did I like it? Absolutely, very much. Is it a perfect film? Not by any stretch of the imagination. Are there things to make fun of? Fucking absolutely. You have to. I dig it, and I'm not just saying like you got to give it credit but you do have to like marvel at how big someone made a Batman movie. Like it's not set on some fucking sound stage where you're like, well, Gotham feels like it's about maybe 40 feet wide or something like that. He shoots in the real world and uses the scope of the real world. It's so fucking ambitious. You just want to take your hat off to it to be like, God damn it, buddy. That's what we dreamed about when we read these books years ago, that one day someone would come in and be like, I'm going to play it straight, man. Like we're going to do it as serious as possible. So on that level, absolutely. Do I like it as much as Dark Knight? No, I don't think it works as well as Dark Knight. I think it works very well, but I prefer Dark Knight. Like if somebody was like, pick one of these three or put them in order, for me, it's 2, 3, 1. Like I like Dark Knight Rises more than Batman Begins. There's a lot more going on in it. And that's not to say Batman Begins is not a good movie. There's wonderful stuff in that too. But The Dark Knight is such a high bar.
Right.
And, you know, shy of, you had Bane as a villain. You had Catwoman, the addition of Catwoman, Marion Cotillard's character, John Blake, the cop character. You add in all those elements, it's never going to make up for one scene with Heath Ledger. That dude like did something sublime in that movie. I mean, in terms of going like, man, we always dreamed about someone would do a serious version of these comics. Never once thought about like, man, imagine if somebody played the Joker differently than Jack Nicholson. Like that was the guy who had defined the Joker, and you're just like, who could ever touch that? And then this kid comes along and puts a performance on wax where you're like, this guy treated it so seriously. You look at the Nicholson performance, you're like, oh my God, he literally was laughing all the way to the bank. You know, but you look at Heath Ledger's performance and it's like Robert De Niro in a fucking comic book movie. It's so serious and real, and there's something behind it and an ethos. It's not just like a gimmick. It's like a real breathing, living character. And they made the white face and the green hair like kind of make sense in the real world, as opposed to like he fell in a vat of acid and was changed. They turned it into war paint. The bar was so damn high. So I like Dark Knight Rises, but not as much as Dark Knight. And I also felt like, I mean, this is weird to say because I'm a huge Batman fan, and I could watch like 5 more hours, but I felt like in terms of one movie, they went a long time.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily. It felt like that first half hour, dude. Did you really need to be like, Bruce Wayne quit 8 years ago? First off, that would never happen except in The Dark Knight Rises. Or The Dark Knight Returns, rather. He quits and he comes back later in life. Or he's kind of forced to quit at one point, right? In The Dark Knight Returns, they're sent underground by a version of not the Keene Act that was in the Watchmen, but wasn't there some sort of the government doesn't want us doing this, Bruce? So he was kind of forced to quit in that scenario. In this, he just took.
Well, it seemed like Gotham was purged of almost all crime. It felt like
And they kept saying, they're like, well, every city has its crime, but not organized crime. So what they're saying is like, we still have jaywalkers, but we don't need Batman for that.
Right.
What did you think of it?
I dug it. I dug a lot of things about it. There were some things that I didn't like about it. But I mean, it like you say, it's hard to get picayune.
When they're so close and doing so much right, you feel like a shit being like, well, I didn't get this right. I didn't get this right.
I really didn't dig the taking him to the prison.
Dropping him in the hole.
Dropping him in there and putting a little TV behind bars.
Yeah, he's like, you're in this hellhole, this remote urine-soaked hellhole with cable.
I can't say that I liked even Catwoman. I don't think she really did anything for me.
Now, compared to previous incarnations, and let's not even go back to Julie Newmar. Let's say...
Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah, so let's say as a cinematic Catwoman, that's the high bar. Who did you like better?
I liked her. I liked this Dark Knight Rising's version of Catwoman. Her motivations are more clearer, but I don't feel that she really did anything that made me like want to see more of her on screen. You know, I felt Batman forgiving her for setting him up and basically killing him as far as she knew.
Yeah.
And then him being like, well, I still think there's good in you.
I still think you've got good in you. And she's like, why? We just met. And I fucked you over twice.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to swallow. I felt the Bane and Batman, like I need to see it again on DVD so I can get some subtitles up there because I could barely understand what they were saying.
Are you one of those people that couldn't get Batman or Bane? Or Bane? Really?
Bane was difficult to understand what he was saying. You saw it 3 times.
I did.
I only saw it once, and not at the best theater in the world, and I need to see it on subtitle to maybe get the full effect.
What'd you think of him?
He was fine. I was
shocked by how much I liked him because I don't care about that character in the comics, but I thought the real world rendition that they pulled off, I was like, wow, man, like you made me appreciate Bane.
I'm not a big fan of like a nuclear bomb is going to go off and let's get rid of it.
That was weak.
It's kind of like
the introduction of a nuclear weapon into a Batman story. You're right. That to me is bigger than Batman. Because at that point, Batman's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about this? You want me to punch the nuclear warhead? Like, I can't deal with this. And what I also find irritating in the a little story point, though, is Bruce Wayne creates the problem and then has to clean it up. Because it's his generator that's being turned into the nuclear weapon. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like, to me, it's like, well, it's not very heroic if you're just cleaning up your own fucking mess.
True. There was odd things like not that I didn't like them because I actually thought it looked good, but Batman fighting in the daytime was very odd.
It looked good though, didn't it?
It looked good. I like the tiny snowflakes coming down, not overboard, just a few snowflakes,
just enough to distract from like he's wearing a rubber suit.
But at times, though, it looks a little cheesy when you're in broad daylight, though. Yeah. But I kind of dug it.
Especially considering they didn't do that in like the 1989 Tim Burton Batman. Like there was a scene, remember in the novelization, as well as I don't know if they ever shot it, but it was in the shooting script and it was in the novelization. And it was a scene in which Batman appeared in broad daylight and he shot like a bolero type weapon at the Joker. In the middle of a park, and he rides a horse too. It was crazy. It was in the script, but I guess what I'd heard in drips and drabs, I never got the full story though, was that at the end of the day they were like, this suit looks like shit in the light, man. They're like, you got to keep this Batman in the dark, in the light. People are going to see that this made of rubber. So they weren't able to ever really show that before. So it was, for me, really cool when they were like, here he is fighting in broad daylight. That was kind of badass.
I kind of like the idea of actually showing it in daytime for once. It was so critical, daylight be damned. I gotta do work in the daytime.
Right.
But I didn't like, basically Batman really didn't beat Bane. Mm-mm. He needed Catwoman to shoot him.
Yeah, Catwoman
and it wasn't
kills
chilling her comments about like I don't have such a
she's like, you're a little gun issue. You might want to rethink it, bitch. No, it wasn't like that, but it was
coming off what happened. No, it was a very like, wow. I wonder if that line, like in another era, that line may be removed for a DVD release.
Oh, because of Aurora.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that, man.
When I heard that line, my heart sank, and I was like, "Ooh, that's got to be tough to hear."
Wow, I saw that movie 3 times that weekend, 2 after hearing about the Aurora shooting, and I never thought about that. But you're right. The more you think about it, you're like, that line might come off in poor taste. Right. But it's true to the Batman character, But it's also not true to the Batman character to have him stand by. He's like, I'm glad you killed Bane because he had the upper hand.
And I thought like Talia's death was kind of
she got in a car accident.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest of on-screen deaths. It was just kind of like that kind of cliched, like kind of talking with that last little bit of breath.
Exactly, where she's like, I have finished my father's work. And then she just dies. I thought, I know for the movie, you're not going to do everything as close to the comics. But what I always loved about that relationship in the comic books is that she's so fucking smitten with Bruce Wayne / Batman. She calls him beloved. Mm-hmm. Like she's one of the world's, if not the world's most deadly woman, at least in the DC universe, maybe with the exception of Lady Shiva. But when it comes to him, I'm not going to say she's putty in his hands, but it's almost like the old Batman Catwoman relationship.
Like not bow, but she kind of like, she treats him as more than her equal.
Yes.
And that's the only man I think that maybe other than her father.
Yes. And that, I'm not saying they should have done that in the movie. Look, I'm just fucking, I can't believe that Talia al Ghul was a villain in any Batman movie. That just still blows my hair back. Could you imagine? Of all the Batman villains you could do, somebody was just like, let's do Talia al Ghul, man. Why not? So that to me is kind of impressive. But at the end of the day, it wasn't that to me wasn't Talia al Ghul.
No.
It worked in the sense of the movie. She was who she needed to be. But the things that I find interesting about that character are the fact that she would kill anybody, and this guy, she's just like, come with me, Batman. Just she'll fall to him.
And what do you think, though? Maybe I'm tired here. We've been talking a while, but I can't remember now. Why, if they just want to set the bomb off, Why not just set it off on day one?
Their rationale was because he wanted to poison the people of Gotham with hope. If he just killed them all, that's not good enough. When he took them to prison, he was like, what rocks about this prison is that because you can look up and see the light and think maybe I can escape, but you never can, and that makes you feel like shit.
Okay, so they want
despair. There is no fucking true despair without fucking a sense of hope. So what I got was him saying, we're gonna wait until the bomb itself. Once you remove the core, it had to essentially break down. So it had 50 days.
Oh, okay.
So even if they wanted to do it, they couldn't. They had to wait for it to essentially degenerate into an explosive condition. But that being said, nobody ever seemed to have an escape plan. Nobody was ever like, and then we'll get the fuck off this island.
Well, I actually thought that they were
a death cult.
Yes. That's the idea I got.
Which I'll go with, but I wish they would have expressly said that. Like, we're a death cult. But I guess that's implied by the fact that, like, they're all on the same island with the bomb holding the trigger. I enjoy it so much. I could talk about it endlessly, but I can also pick it apart endlessly. I'm so glad that movie exists. I'm so glad they did that version of Batman. I wish they'll make another 9 like that. They're not gonna. I'm happy with the 3 they gave me. I fully accept that coming soon, we're probably going to see maybe the next iteration of Batman a little lighter. I'm not saying we're going back to Joel Schumacher country, but it might be a little more user-friendly than this Batman. But hats off to that fucking studio for making the 3 Batman movies they did, for trusting the vision of that filmmaker who's like, let me just do it like weird and dark. And not weird and gothy, emo-y dark, but let's play this fucking straight, as if this dude's like a fucking bizarre soldier of fortune, man, who just happens to wear a mask.
Yeah.
So hats off to them for doing it. But I can't imagine we'll ever see a Batman that dark ever again.
No.
That'll never in our lifetime. Maybe like 30 years from now, they'll be like, "Is it safe to try again?"
Yeah.
Like some kid who grows up watching this trilogy is like, man, I miss the days the Batman I grew up with the one that was so dark, and they'll be old enough to be making films, and they'll try to bring it back to a dark.
And they'll have to make it a bit darker, and to be a bit darker, Christ, I don't even know if I want to see it even then.
Well, even the concept, it begins with like parental death, orphan child. It really does start in despair, and it's the opposite of the Superman mythos, who is also an orphan child. But that's all about hope and stuff. We're all about like, I want to help people for the rest of my life because I've got the power to do so. And the other guy's like, I want to help people so this never happens to a child again. Like, it's a little more dark. Speaking of dark, let's go down your list, man. I asked Walter to put together a top 10 list of his favorite Batman stories. I imagine it'll instigate some chit chat, of course, with us.
Yes.
And it'll be in no specific order, or do you rank them?
No specific order.
Okay.
Just the ones that I could pull off out of my head as me really digging. And I cheated a little bit, putting a whole bunch, maybe putting a big run into one story. But I'm going to go first one, Batman 251, Neil Adams. TV series has been canceled.
Okay.
And the Joker appears, and he's a homicidal maniac and wants to kill all his henchmen. And he puts Batman up against a shark. 1974 or 73.
So as a kid, you're looking at this going, this is the greatest story ever told on every level.
Yeah, the big thing in that issue, it's the cover is like the Joker's above the city, and he has the Batman on a Ace of Spades card.
We have that hanging in the store, I believe, at the stash.
That's Batman 251, art by Neil Adams, and the big thing in there is that Bats jumps into a shark tank to save one of Joker's henchmen.
Does he have to fight the shark? Does he ride the shark?
He kind of like
buffs up against it.
Yeah. Then I got Batman 244, another Neil Adams issue. This is Ra's al Ghul versus Batman. Batman with the hairy chest.
Ah, this is the one. We echoed this in Widening Gyre. You were like, I'm going to draw Batman bare-chested on the rooftop.
It's hard to see because it's such a tiny panel, but there's hair in that chest.
There's a very throwaway moment in Widening Gyre where the Batman is narrating, of course, and there's a few panels of villains, lame villains he's fought in the past. and one of them is Captain Stingery, I believe. Or was it the other one?
Yeah, they were two pirate-based villains
from Gotham, from the Batman mythos. And so Walter's like, I want to draw that in. I said, why? He goes, because I want to draw a bare-chested Batman. And I was like, okay. And he, if you look really closely on the panel, or you could look at it on like a phone. Like I bought the Cacophony.
Right.
They finally released Cacophony on the iPhone. So I got to go panel by panel. If you go panel by panel in Widening Gyre and you look at that and you blow that panel up, you'll see that he's bare chested and he has like a massive mat of hair, like Nick Cage and Valley Girl, like a big triangle across his chest.
That had a big impact on me, man.
Why?
I don't know why, because I'd never seen Batman without a shirt on.
No insignia.
You're right, and he came out and it was just like hairy chested and muscular. It was just like he looked even meaner.
There's a lot of man under that Batman.
Yeah, so that's one that definitely was had a big impact on me as a kid.
What is the actual story besides fucking Batman takes his shirt off?
He has that duel with Ra's al Ghul in the desert, and they're both bare chested, and it's that he can't beat him, and then at fencing, but then he actually does.
I don't know this. Tell a story.
Well, he's out. He thinks that he's killed. Ra's al Ghul at the end of the battle, but I think they just throw him back in the Lazarus pit. But it's like a big battle with Ra's al Ghul. Talia's there, and it's more for the Neil Adams art than the Denny O'Neil story. I just like that artwork was it was insanely gripping, as opposed to anything else that was on the stands at that point. That super realistic. Hyper realistic.
It was that era's equivalent of like an Alex Ross painting.
Exactly.
Suddenly somebody was drawing like real human beings who happen to be wearing masks and capes.
And then I go with the trade paperback that collected the Marshall Rogers, Steve Englehart, Strange Apparitions.
I'm with you on this. This is this directly plays into our run. Like when I was shaping Widening Gyre, I based it on Strange Apparitions and also the other
the Dark Detective.
Yes. The Rogers Englehart Batman is a very sweeping, also romantic Batman. Like when people who read our Widening Gyre story, some people complain like, there's one issue where Batman's giving someone a piggyback. What's going on? But if you read the Marshall Rogers, the Englehart and Marshall Rogers stuff, Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers, there's a lot of romance in it. Like they told a very cinematic story. They were the ones that introduced the laughing fish, I think.
Yep.
But one of the like weirdest aspects of that story, and it wound up, a callback in Widening Gyre. I think it's in Strange Apparitions, or is it later on where Silver St. Cloud winds up with the a politician? Yes.
That's in Dark Detective.
Dark Detective. It's so fucked up. Silver St. Cloud, who's in love with Bruce Wayne, they're apart. She winds up going with this Greg guy, a senator or something like that, and about to be married. They're engaged or whatever. And in the storyline, the Joker runs for election as well, but it's not like Pengy for mayor in the Batman TV show. He's killing people and blah blah blah. But at one point, doesn't he tell him what it is? It's like a pendulum.
He's like in a crazy like a lunatic's house, and he has this traps everywhere, and he has the politicians trapped in the house, and the Joker sets this trap which cuts off his right arm and right leg, eventually making him. Oh no, or was it both legs?
I think it was. I know you're right on right arm and right leg, but whatever. It was like holy shit! Like you'd almost like I can't believe they didn't just kill him. Instead, they were like, we're gonna mutilate him for life.
Yeah.
And the story ends with Silver St. Cloud being like, I can't be with you. And because in the story, she was like, remember they kiss in the politician's office and shit. And but at the end of the story, she's like, I got to take care of this fucking dude. He just got lamed up by the Joker and whatnot.
It was good stuff.
What's in Strange Apparitions? Is that the Hugo Strange stuff?
Hugo Strange stuff, the Laughing Fish. There's some Clayface stuff. Phosphorus Man, but that wasn't by Rogers. It was an Englehart story by Walt Simonson.
He came in for that issue?
He started off the Englehart run, Walt Simonson.
Boy, that art is gorgeous, man. When you think of Batman art, that's the Marshall Rogers stuff.
And Terry Austin.
Yes. Oh, good God. Just the covers alone. Who did the cover that you were just talking about before of Batman on the card? Was that Neil Adams cover? And then what issue? They collected Strange Apparitions and Dark Detective, but what books were they originally in? Was it a Batman book?
Detective Comics, 471 through 476. And Dark Detective was a miniseries in the early 2000s.
That's right. So it was a direct.
Issue. It was like 30 years later.
Yeah. Oh, but some of the best stuff. When I think of Marshall Rogers and Steve Englehart, I think of giant typewriters, and garish villains, because they kind of, when you think of the giant typewriter era of comics, that was then. They worked on stories like that.
I got an odd one in here, but I had to throw something in here by Jim Aparo. Batman and the Outsiders #1.
Walter is the biggest Aparo apologist on the planet. I remember I got back into comics right around Death in the Family. And Death in the Family had those covers by Mike Mignola.
Right.
And then you'd open it up and I'd be like, oh, it's striking. But I also referred to it as Fat Batman. I was like, I don't like Fat Batman. But then you'd open it up. But at least it had like a strong artistic stance. Then you open it up and the artwork inside, I would always be like, this looks like a coloring book. And Walter would be like, you don't know Dick, man. Aparo is the ultimate Batman artist.
I tell you, Aparo, inked by Aparo, was to me, it felt a lot like Neil Adams. I know a lot of people may be like, oh, you're crazy. But to me, I could see the same kind of like powerful artwork in there. And I like Aparo artwork. And this one was just like Batman quits the Justice League because he feels they've lost their way. They're only focusing on like world crisis.
Right.
And they're not looking out for like these small little things that need to be addressed as well. And so he creates his own super team that will only follow his orders because he's through trying to be a team player.
And that's the Outsiders.
Right.
And who's on the original Outsider team? Is that Rex, the Elemental Man? Elemento.
No, Metamorpho.
Katana. And
Black Lightning.
Okay.
Geoforce.
Okay. His power was like Earth, shaking the Earth.
Geoforce? Yeah. He had Earth powers. He was actually Terra's brother from the Teen Titans.
From the Titans. I didn't know that. So that's the whole lineup of the Outsiders?
And Halo.
The chick with the rainbow.
Yeah.
So when they launched that book, you were a fan of it?
When I launched that book, I got in on the ground floor. I was probably only DC book I was buying was the new Teen Titans. But I felt like, getting in on the ground floor, I would buy this book as well. And I dug it. And it got silly at times, but I always liked that. I always loved that cover of like, I'm out of here, JLA. This is my new team now, bitches.
Breaking up with the JLA.
Yeah, I love that cover.
Once again, also referenced in The Widening Gyre. And that scene we did was set at a football field as well. I remember the first time I was saying, like, they got it from us. But the first time I saw the trailer for Dark Knight Rises, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, did we have anything to do with this?
Next on the list, I go Batman the Cult by Starlin and Bernie Wrightson.
Very nice. Now, why do you put this here, for the storyline or for the art?
Both.
Really?
I like both. I like the storyline. I like the artwork a lot. I like the coloring a lot.
What was the Reverend? Was it Blackstone? Deacon Black. Or no? Wasn't that Blade? What's Blade's villain's name?
Oh, that's
Deacon Frost.
Yeah.
The story was Batman goes into the sewers of Gotham to track down somebody, and he finds this cult led by a charismatic leader in the sewers, and they actually brainwash him. Yeah,
they break him. Deacon Blackfire.
That's it, Blackfire.
Yeah, and they break him. They, through, I guess, brainwashing and just basically beating the crap out of him. They actually break the bat, and I think he sees Robin being beat up that like shocks him back into being Batman, as I recall, correct?
Right. Yes, at the end of the book.
And they have a badass, Batmobile in that one, remember?
The monster truck.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right. They got to like the one, it's toward the end of the book, I believe.
Right.
All of a sudden you see these massive like monster truck tires and the small, tiny by comparison to the tires, cab of the Batmobile on top of it.
But that had some beautiful artwork in it, and it was probably like painted over the
I remember the
black
blood,
line work.
the blood on like him, because Batman's bloody the whole book because they repeatedly beat the shit out of him.
And his costume is stained throughout the book. That was such a great effect for that era. I've never even seen it done since like that, to be honest with you. And I always loved that though.
And they, as I was saying, that one website pointed out like a few similarities between the Cult and Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. So if you've never read the Cult, go grab it. It's worth it just to look at it. How many? It was 2 issues, 4 issues?
4 issues.
4. And that was when I started collecting. That was like one of the first books that I bought. And we went to the show that was near your house, where you live now. But it was, what is it, the VFW or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I picked up issue 1 of the Cult for $10. I was like, look what I got, man. And you were like, you can still get that a cover. All right, the Cult, very worthy being on that list.
Dark Knight Returns, obviously. I'm sure you've heard it ad nauseum now.
It really holds up. Like, how often do you go back and read it, though?
I read it occasionally,
And it never, do you ever go, isn't it? It's amazing. I never pick up that book and go like, all right, I've had enough. Like no matter when I pick it up, if I'm looking, I keep going. It's a gripping, emotional read. It's badass. And it's also like this piece of Batman history where you're like, the worm has turned. Like he did something insane here. Nothing will ever be the same again. You haven't seen the trailer for The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Returns straight to DVD movie that Warner Direct is doing. They did it in the style of Frank Miller. And the trailer basically shows that there's 2 movies. There's part 1, part 2. And the first movie is the first 2 books. So it's The Mutants, Carrie Kelly, Robin, Harvey Dent. They had the fucking shot. Remember Batman fucking with the sniper rifle running across the tightrope? Like, I'm not even kidding. You don't get as emotional about Batman as I do, but you watch that trailer and it fucking makes you want to cry because you're like, I can't believe they did it. They brought it to life. Like, all these movies, they'll approximate Batman, but they literally brought fucking Frank Miller's first 2 books to life. And the trailer shows off every image that you want to see, including the fucking cover image of him jumping through the lightning. Oh, wow. It's so fucking insanely good. And it's in 2 parts. So they put book 1 and book 2 together. And then what's book 3 and book 4? Book 3 is the Joker.
Right.
And
Superman.
And then ends, and book 4 is basically the war with Superman. Yeah. I sound like greedy now because I haven't even seen the first part, but I can't fucking wait until they get to the I waste one moment, for a goodbye. And he spits on the Joker. Remember? The Joker snaps his own neck. It's at the beginning of book 4. It's as he's leaving the park before it gets the Joker had a bomb on him, if I remember correctly. But he's like, I waste one moment with a goodbye. And he spits on. Peter Weller's doing the voice.
Oh, boy.
So it's RoboCop. It sounded kind of cool. I look forward to it so much. So Dark Knight Returns, of course, has to be on the list.
And then, year 1 as well.
Yeah, all right. Now, were you reading when year 1 came out?
Yep.
Like you were buying the book regularly?
Comic, yeah.
So was there a lead up to it of like, oh, you ain't going to believe what had Frank Miller done prior? The Daredevil run?
For Daredevil and Ronin. He was coming off Ronin when he did Dark Knight.
But when was year 1? That was after Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight. Dark Knight was so huge. They wanted to get more Frank Miller work, and instead of doing another mini-series or special, they for some reason put it in the regular Batman book.
Yeah, they just ran in the book. I remember there were some people that bitched about our Cacophony run. They were like, this shouldn't have been a standalone miniseries. It should have been part of the Batman run. Which I didn't really argue with. I was like, that would have been awesome to be a part of the Batman run. But DC put it outside. Okay, so Dark Knight Rises and year 1. What's your favorite year 1?
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns, sorry, and year 1.
And then I go with
What's your favorite year 1 moment? Is it so you've eaten well? The moment where he blows open the wall?
No, I think it's when he takes down the SWAT team.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I go with the JLA Morrison relaunch where Batman takes down the White Martians.
Oh, where they find the one fucking note where he's like, I know your secret.
I know your secret.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. I love that fucking moment.
And then when he lights the match
Yes.
He's surrounded by the gasoline.
Yes.
Yeah, I like
They
that.
also show one of the rare appearances of Batman in the Batwing using a missile in comics.
Yes.
I have that page at home. I loved Grant Morrison's take on Batman, particularly in the JLA issues, because he was just unerringly correct. Such a fucking badass. But that was wonderful. And that moment in that first, I love that first storyline with the White Martians, and I love that moment with the I know your secret, and it's on Batman paper, like you see there.
Yeah.
But as much as I love that, I love Rock of Ages. Remember when they did Rock of Ages, the storyline that like it's so massive and so big. Their depiction of Batman, remember in the future, like when they encounter the Batman who'd been broken by Desaad, but he had killed Desaad and been living as Desaad for the last 2 years. And it's so awesome. They go to it's almost like Days of Future Past. And I don't mean to be, Grant Morrison's like, fuck you. It is not. But they go into this alternate future where the Joker and Lex Luthor have destroyed the whirligig, the whatever they were calling it, this Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
And so it allowed the dark side and Apocalypse to take over Earth. There's that awesome issue where they're just like, there's massive signs that say, who is? And on the other side, it just says dark side is, because they just keep adding, like, who is your master? Who is the one who gives you everything? And they all just say dark side is. So it's Batman facing dark side. Like for the first time, I know they did that later on. Grant Morrison did that in the book that made Batman disappear for a while. Final Crisis. But this was their first meeting, and it was in the future. Well, at least first meeting as done by Grant Morrison. And it's in the future, and Batman had been tortured by Desaad, but eventually fucking turned the tables, killed Desaad, and assumed his mantle. So when the future Wally West with the mind of the young Wally West and Aquaman and I forget who the other heroes arrive, Batman has already secured Desaad's palace, and he tells him, he's like, essentially does the whole Batman thing of, I've just been waiting for this moment. This is the best moment we'll ever have to kill this monster, because Darkseid is an unkillable god. Right. So Batman sets up everything to allow them, just enough fucking time. But he eventually faces Darkseid, and Darkseid is just like, who are you? Like, it has this one moment where you've hurt me. Who are you? And he's like, I'm nobody, but I'm blah, blah, blah. He has a great fucking line. That depiction of Batman in the JLA by Grant Morrison, hands down, my favorite. And then that whole issue is followed by, remember the Black Racer? They're about to blow up the Earth or blow up the moon, which is going to kill Darkseid. But they're on the moon at this point. They have to destroy the moon to destroy Darkseid, if I remember correctly. So basically there's a countdown to Armageddon, and, it all ends with Orion setting off like a doomsday weapon. But you keep seeing voiceover or narrative, and it's like, you don't know who it is for the first 10, 15 fucking pages. Even if you know the DC universe well, you're like, well, maybe it's Death. I assume it's, Death or something like that. The Neil Gaiman character of Death. So it's always like the voiceover is just like, this one calls me by an old name. He stops by each hero as they die battling Darkseid. And Wonder Woman is like, I think he throws her through a fucking boom tube or something, or hits her with a boom tube. So she's dying, and the voiceover narration is, this one sees me and calls me by my old name. And then he does one for Batman, but my favorite one, hands down, was the Atom. And he goes, this one sees me, and like a good scientist asks a question. I respond yes. And they never tell you, but what they're implying is Ray Palmer in that moment when he saw this character was like, are you Death? And the character says yes. And when they finally reveal the character, it's Death the Black Racer. Right. Who, if you've never seen Death the Black Racer, it's one of the stupidest looking comic book characters ever. It's literally like what looks like a knight in shining armor on skis with ski poles in his hands. But it's so well written, man. And it's basically the Black Racer comes like, it begins like the issue with this amazing voiceover of just like, as my shadow comes round, as all things must end. Like, it seems epic and big. You're like, who the fuck? I can't wait to see who this is. And when they reveal that it's this little fucking, like, almost like a Batmite looking character in a suit of armor, he's all small on skis with ski poles. You're like, this should be the dumbest fucking thing ever. But it's pretty damn emotional. It's a really wonderful issue, man. Okay, so but you're talking about JLA, the first run with the White Martians.
Yes.
Beautiful Batman story. I fully agree.
Then I go to Killing Joke.
Of course. Oh, now this is when I started collecting. I came back into the game right around the release of Killing Joke. I think it was already a $10 wall book because you and I started going around looking for first prints. And we would find places. Remember that, like Three Bears, Teddy Bears, comic book store or something like that. And it was by
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen.
Cliffwood.
We were going through the rack, and I had like 3 copies of Killing Joke, which had come out, maybe
like
2 months prior, 6 months prior. And they had first prints, and they were just like face value. Like they didn't charge no more. And we felt like the biggest hustlers on the planet. We're like, can't believe these motherfuckers don't know how much we're taking them for. Killing Joke, excellent, fantastic book. Why do you put it there? The story, the art, what?
The art.
Hands the bowling stuff.
You weren't there towards the when that book was, the hype was coming for that book. Alan Moore. Alan Moore is coming off. He's doing
off the Watchmen
yeah. So there was a lot of anticipation for that book, Brian Boland, and it was very hyped if you were a comic book collector. When I first read it, I got to say the ending really didn't do it for me.
Because they're laughing together?
Yeah, I expected a little bit more.
Like he's going to fucking kill him.
Yeah, especially, but I mean, the crippling of Barbara Gordon, the humiliation of Jim Gordon, has to be on the list just for those 2 things, regardless if I really didn't like the ending.
Beautiful art, and he does the old Batmobile. In Widening Gyre, we referenced that Batmobile.
Mm-hmm. And then I ended up with not a Batman book, but Swamp Thing 53, where Swamp Thing has
I like your list.
Has taken over Gotham because Abigail, his girlfriend, Swamp Thing's girlfriend, is being imprisoned.
She's arrested for having a relationship with the Swamp Thing. She's from Houma, Louisiana, and she leaves to get out of Louisiana because they're chasing her out. So she fought, they don't say this in the comics, but she's a vegetable fucker. She lays down with vegetables and blah, blah, blah. This animal thing, they don't even know what he is. This swamp creature. So she leaves. He's gone. He's on another planet at that point, or he's another realm. Yeah. And so she flees to Gotham to get away. And in Gotham, she winds up getting arrested, like mistaken as and arrested for a prostitute. Then it's revealed that she's this woman that from Louisiana who sleeps with the animal, with the swamp creature man or whatever. So she's held under arrest for I guess the charge being, you're having
decency.
Yeah, you're having a relationship with a non-human or something like that. So Swamp Thing in the Swamp Thing universe finally ends his journey. It's him. I think it's like him saying goodbye to John Constantine. So it must have been them going to hell together. He goes looking for Abby. He sees a newspaper or some report of her being chased out of Houma. Then he finds out that she's in Gotham. So Swamp Thing heads to Gotham, and there's 2 issues. The tail end of one issue is Swamp Thing arriving at Gotham, and they show him traveling. He travels as this green burst of energy. He's traveling at lightning speed, and they're approaching the city. And then I believe it's the setup. Is it one parter or 2-parter?
It's 2-parter. One that they show one of the covers is there at Arkham.
Oh, is that the first issue?
Yeah, I think that's the first.
Then
issue.
What's the cover of the second?
The second one is like Swamp Thing's really big and Batman's on a ledge of a building.
Oh my God, you're right. So the first issue with the Arkham cover ends with it ends with already the attack on Gotham.
Right.
Like basically Swamp Thing comes to Gotham and says, release my woman. This is crazy. Release my woman and no harm will come to Gotham. And Gotham's officials are like, we won't bow to terrorism. Right. And she's committed a felony, blah, blah, blah. And so Swamp Thing begins a siege on Gotham that is essentially dials it back to the jungle.
Right.
Like, Swamp Thing's ability, of course, to manipulate plant life. So he overgrows Gotham and turns it into a jungle. And it affects everybody in different ways. Some people are like, this is amazing. And go back to nature. And some people worship him as a god. That's his threat. He's like, release my woman or I will just dial this city back to the Stone Age, blah, blah, blah. At the end of that first issue, you hear something, there's a narration. It's not omniscient voiceover, but it's narration of just like, as Gotham plunges, I'm not even going to do it justice because it's Alan Moore, he's a brilliant writer. But you're pulling back and you're pulling back and you pull back finally to some legs. And then when you flip the page, the last page, the splash page, if I remember correctly, is Batman on top of the building. And, it's just like, but not in his city or something. I forget what the words are. So in the next issue, Batman confronts Swamp Thing. And, he's talking to the officials about what to do. And he's like, I've encountered this being one other time, but he did not have these powers. And perhaps he could be reasoned with.
Right.
So there's a scene of Swamp Thing walking around the Gotham turned back to the jungle. And all of a sudden you see in the background, bzz, bzz, you see the onomatopoeia of BZZZ indicating there's something happening in the background, buzzing, getting louder and louder. And finally the Swamp Thing turns around and he has overgrown. They're in the Gotham Central Park. So he's overgrown like the trees and whatnot. You see this massive, what also looks like a monster truck version of the Batmobile. But it's got these like what looks like pizza cutters on arms cutting through all the foliage. And a massive vehicle stops in front of the little Swamp Thing figure and idles for a second. And then you just see like a speaker balloon indicating that he's talking through a microphone. And it just says, can we talk? And then he's just like, I need you to release my city. And he's like, I need you to release my woman and I won't release the city until then. And he's like, you hear Batman. He's like, you're positive about this. And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, I didn't want to do it this way. And the Batmobile pops open and he comes out with
the flamethrower looking thing,
like a defoliating / flamethrower thing that essentially just takes him out. Maybe it might actually be like napalm, if I remember correctly. Takes out Swamp Thing, and then suddenly Swamp Thing since he can rebuild his body and and they indicate it with more onomatopoeia on the page, made up words of indicating tubers coming together and roots and shoots and stuff like that. So suddenly another Swamp Thing grows behind Batman and another and they just fucking all beat the shit out of him within an inch of his life. Batman faces a foe and he's not only is he tough to beat, but Batman, there's a wonderful scene in, I guess, the mayor's office, and it's Batman, the mayor, and Commissioner Gordon. And, Batman's like, I advocate that you release this woman. I think you should release the woman. They're like, we can't bow to terror. He's like, that thing is very nearly a god, and this city won't exist in a matter of days if this goes on any further. And the mayor or the DA is just like, well, this woman has, slept with something that is not human or has a relationship with something that's not human. We can't let that sort of thing go. And Batman breaks it down. It's a real like Law and Order moment before Law and Order. He works the room like a district attorney. He's just like, oh, I understand. Like because she's laid down with something that's not a human being. He's like, okay. He's like, what about Coriander of the Titans? I believe her people are descended from cats. Right. He starts going through all the Gotham characters that might not be quite 100% human. And then he goes, and then there's what's his name in Metropolis. And they cut to the mayor, and the mayor is sweating. And he's like, we have to release the woman. And so they finally release the woman to Swamp Thing. And her and Alec Holland are about to fall into each other's arms. And he gets taken out. And I don't know if they set it up in that issue. I think they did. When Swamp Thing takes hold of Gotham, when the Gotham siege begins, when he dials it back to the jungle, they're cut to a scene at one point where they're like talking to Lex Luthor about how does one do away with something this powerful. And they have a wonderful scene. It's a very quick, it's like 8 panels where he's just like, essentially they bought him for $1 million. He'll give them 1 minute of his time. And so they ask him, like, how do we kill the Swamp Thing? And he's like, basically you need a neural disruptor. Once it's lodged in and he can't jump forms, then you just hit him with a napalm or something like that. And then he was like, "That's 1 minute, gentlemen. I'll be on my way." Like, it's a really great Lex Luthor scene. And so Swamp Thing gets shot in the head by a sniper with this neural disruptor. And Abby's like, "Alec, jump." And he's like, "I can't." And then he gets hit by the bomb and he's smoked and disappears. And so, and then I don't know if it's the very next issue or the issue after that, there's another scene in Gotham where they put up a statue. Remember, they have a funeral and Batman speaks at the funeral. Yeah. I mean, it sounds ridiculous because like Batman was at Swamp Thing's funeral. Alan Moore made this shit read like, think of a book that people go, man, that's fucking literature. You know, Huck Finn, the Bible to some people. I guess that wouldn't count. You know, fucking John Grisham, Stephen King. This dude writes about these characters and these moments in a graphic art way, but, you know, still treating them so fucking seriously. You read it over and over again, and you go like, man, this would totally rock if the world was like this. Oh, I agree. That if you've never read Swamp Thing, do yourself a favor and start with those issues. What's the number?
Start with book 1. They just released it in softcover now, new, recolored. Just get book 1. And
the anatomy lesson? It begins with the anatomy lesson?
It begins with the issue before anatomy lesson. They're going to do all
Do they really? So it begins with the one?
Issue 20 instead of 21. So this is they do for Alan Moore's very first issue where they hadn't been including it for a long time in the trades.
So what, Alan Moore did issue 20? He wrote an issue before the anatomy lesson?
Yes.
And in all the previous trades, it begins with anatomy lesson.
Right.
In the anatomy lesson is a fantastic issue of Swamp Thing where Alan Moore takes one of the dumbest characters in comics, or basically, you know, Man-Thing and the DC side, and turns it into something so beautiful, so poetic, so badass, so captures your imagination, and created a mythology around it. The Parliament of Trees, John Constantine, all of these things, the journey to hell to save Abby, Anton Arcane. Like he even took Anton Arcane and turned him into something even cooler than a mustache-twisting evil old man. Brilliant writing. So basically, Alan Moore handled Batman in those issues, in Killing Joke, in that story. Remember is it the Christmas story where? Oh,
the man who has everything.
Yes, the man who has everything.
Superman.
Batman's in that story though, because remember at one point the Black Lotus or whatever is attached to his chest,
right?
And when this thing gets attached to you, you see your idyllic future, your idyllic version of existence. So it gets attached to Batman. And at one point, I guess his idyllic was like him and his parents leave the movie theater and just go home. And oh man, he handled that character really well. We could do this for hours, but we've been shooting for hours. We just spent all day shooting Comic Book Men, the show for AMC season 2, which is going really great. But now we just sat down and talked more comic books. I think we're both a little comic booked out, man. But that was awesome. That's a great fucking list. If you've never read any of those or you've read some and haven't read others, that's the list of an authority right there. Mr. Walt Flanagan himself is giving you a roadmap to Batman. Follow it. Right on, man. So thanks for jumping back on the mic, Walt. They can always find Walter on Tell Him Steve Dave every Friday at smodcast.com. And, of course, Comic Book Men begins its season 2 in October, so you'll see him there. If you want to see Walt's Batman work, pick up the Cacophony or Widening Gyre. You can pick it up digitally or in paper form. Right on, man. Well, thanks for hanging out once again, Walt. Say goodnight to the kids.
All right, man. Good night.
Tune in next week here on Fatman on Batman. We're going to talk to the Batman himself, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, the only voice of Batman that I hear in my head whenever I read comics. Will be sitting down with us on Fatman on Batman. So don't forget, that's next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, smodcast.com.